Hello everyone, this is Noah from Spanky the Sparky. Today we have a very special guest, Josh Nieves. Is that correct?
You got it, man. Nailed it.
Perfect. Josh, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to do the interview. Like I like to say before all of these is, if it can impact one person's decision on either entering the trades or even maybe not wanting to enter the trades, that does its job in itself. So thank you. To get the ball rolling, I guess give us a little insight on yourself. I know you have a long list of accolades, share as much or as little as you'd like, but I know you're part of the IBEW, which I am as well. So just give us a little bit about yourself and I guess how you got into the trade.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and thank you for that great introduction.
Yeah.
Second generation IBEW Local 3 electrician. I saw the life that my father provided for us when I was a kid. We had a roof over our head, nice cars in the driveway. We lived on a little homestead about maybe 55 miles north of New York City.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I had a good life growing up, man. Very, very blessed, very fortunate. So naturally, when I was in high school, I wanted to follow my father's footsteps. I saw a lot of my friends going to colleges. This is 2007, not to age myself, but this was the era when everybody was getting pushed to college. We're seeing a shift now, but long story short, when I was eligible to at 15, maybe I was probably around 15 years old, I had the ability to go to vocational school.
That's a big one.
It was electrical, construction, and technology. And that was kind of my door in. I saw what my father did. He provided this amazing life. My mother didn't need to work, which we know is a really big deal today, right?
Yes, it is.
It's like almost unheard of, right?
Yeah.
But so, yeah, great life. And once I got through that 2-year program in conjunction with high school, I decided to apply for a Local 3's apprenticeship program. I ended up getting in about 6 months to 8 months after graduation. And, just by luck, I landed with one of the largest and their top 10 electrical contractor in the nation, EJ Electric.
Well, that's
and
awesome.
I was there for 16 years, man, and
Wow.
built my entire career with them. Shout out to them. They're an amazing contractor. Watched them scale and do their thing. And I became a foreman, a card-carrying foreman when I was 22.
Oh, wow.
By 20...
I'm going to stop you real fast. Being that young, being labeled a foreman or given that position, I've talked to, actually the first interview was with a gentleman by the name of Brody. He's 24, and I've talked to him a little bit on the interview, but outside of work. Was there any kind of pushback with you being so young, having that role from especially the older guys or even the younger guys?
No. So
that's awesome.
I was with them. I was with EJ at this point for about 4 years, going on 5. So right around 23, I'd say, right? So right when I became a journeyman, these guys pretty much raised me. I came up with them, so I got a lot of support. The ball busting existed. I won't say that wasn't there, but that was part of it, though, and that's honestly what made work so fun. So these guys just guided me, they mentored me, and I did get a lot of support. As I started to take on bigger projects in my mid-20s, that's when I started to get challenged a little bit more, right? Early on, they start to throw you maybe a storefront, maybe you're getting one niche aspect of a project like low voltage and you're running around with a small crew.
Yeah.
But eventually when I started getting the 20, 30, 40 guys, eventually people are going to test you and challenge you, but that's part of the business, and it's not always how you act, it's how you react.
That's very true.
So I had an amazing experience and I had amazing mentors. But then in my mid-20s, I became a general foreman, so I started to kind of touch larger projects, and that's when I had access to the Freedom Tower, Yankee Stadium,
that one's cool.
Bridge, really cool projects, and continued to grow my career and just really put my best foot forward. And then I became the youngest superintendent with Local 3, a 15,000 member local, which is
That's I didn't realize it.
That was a big, and then that we carry a ticket for that as well. So I have receipts for everything I'm saying in case anybody wants to, call me out on this podcast. But it's all good, man. That's fair. So I just had tremendous mentorship, man. And then I wanted to continue to challenge myself, and I decided to become a New York City licensed master electrician. So That was a really cool experience. I did this around the time I was a superintendent. I was able to check that box off, man, and then just kind of felt like I got stuck on a little bit of a hamster wheel. You know, I was with the same company for a really long time, and kind of just felt like deja vu. Every day kind of felt like it was repeating itself. You know, so I actually requested my money. I wanted to take some time off and figure out what I wanted to do with my family, whether if I wanted to stay in New York. Long story short, I didn't. I ended up moving to the Southeast, and then I made a decision to become an executive coach.
That's awesome.
And this ties to our industry. I felt that it was a really effective means for growth for me. I had executive coaching, and I wanted to give back to the guys that were out in the field. And saw a lot of my friends that were having career stagnation, and you know, they were kind of just stuck in the mud. So I didn't believe I was an anomaly. I think I had a good recipe for success, and I kind of wanted to give that back. So ergo, I kind of landed in a workforce development role. Not you know, officially, but I started doing that, and then eventually that kind of caught some steam. I connected with some C-suite leaders at Miller Electric.
That's awesome.
And here I am, man.
That's awesome. In construction or anything in life, leadership is massive, but more importantly in trades, because you're dealing with so many different people of different backgrounds. What actually, or in your opinion, what actually makes a good job site leader? And that, I mean, a job site leader can be at every rank, in my opinion. You could have a very stellar apprentice, which is going to lead, well, not lead, but give insight to other apprentices. Then you're going to have journeymen that are going to be good leaders. It goes all the way up the chain. I think if you have the top of your chain has stellar leadership, that just kind of trickles down. But in your opinion, what makes a good leader, and more so targeted towards the trades?
Man, this is going to be probably a repeating theme for me on this call, brother. But just a heart to serve people.
Yeah.
You know, early on when I started running work, I struggled. It wasn't easy. You know, biggest city in the world, maybe one of the strongest, union labor markets in the country, and you know, I was handed a set of drawings and I was told go.
That's wild.
I wasn't really sure how to navigate that, especially because I was so young. And I'm going to say there was naiveness there. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But what made me, I believe, so effective then and today was just my ability to meet people where they were. You know, when you start to take on larger projects, you know, you don't get to, very, very rarely you get to pick and choose who you want, especially today on large data center projects, hyperscale projects, high rises. You know, especially when we're talking about the local. They're going to send you who they're going to send you, whether you like it or not, right?
That's very true.
Of course, we have a core group of guys. Whenever you start to build a rapport with the company, you always got your guys that you're going to try to bring in, right? That's just a smart thing to do. But at the end of the day, we're all union brothers and sisters, and we need to find a way to be able to work with one another. And
I agree.
I think one of my greatest strengths, it wasn't necessarily my ability to be this big, smart electrician, like whatever. You know, it's not the work that's difficult. It's dealing with the different people and the personalities, and I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yep.
So I would say what makes a good leader, to answer your question, be able to meet people where they are and find where their strengths lie and leverage it. And, you know, treat people with a mindset and a heart of servant leadership, and I do believe the rest will take care of itself.
I agree, and I firmly believe that's why not everyone, but hypothetically, everyone has 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. That way they can observe and then only speak once. So I think that's important. But I think you nailed it right on the head. Building off of leadership, where do you think the trades are falling short when it comes to developing the next generation? Because right now, I mean, at least you've been in the trades a lot longer than I have. But I know when I first started back in middle of 2018, the job sites then there were probably 3-4 journeymen to 1 to 2 apprentices. Now it's basically the complete opposite. What do you think is a critical component on just being able to develop the next generation of tradespeople?
So continued education. I think that's really important. We're starting to see a lot more of that now.
I agree.
Foreman development, leadership development, at the earliest level that people are looking for it. And the biggest piece is mentorship by far. So I think you asked what was missing, right? So
Yep,
I would say the lack of people who are willing to step into a mentorship role. And I think there's a bit of a misconception on what mentorship is.
I agree
Some
with that.
people think that it's this full-time responsibility, and no, I can tell you it's not. Sometimes it's just grabbing a cup of coffee with somebody. Sometimes it's getting on a phone call maybe once a month with a member who's really looking for more, right?
I agree.
Or even people who aren't in the IBEW or just aspiring electricians. I can't tell you. I have a separate phone just for some of the outreach that I do when I go to high
That's awesome.
schools, vocational schools, and trade shows. And I can't tell you how many calls I get a week that they just have questions, right? So mentorship doesn't have to be this super rigid thing where all your time in your day is going to it. But if there is someone who's willing to want to learn about our work and what we do, or if there's someone who's looking to grow within this industry, we as leaders or people who are already operating at a higher level need to be able to step up and support them, and whatever that looks like.
And I agree with that. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term the McDonaldization of like society,
Yes.
but basically my time at Ohio University, I was a criminology or sociology criminology major. That was something we went over. And it's basically just the breakdown of processes to make it as simple as possible. Whether you hate or love McDonald's, which obviously the food's not good for you, but they have a very defined process that's allowed them to scale at, I guess, mass capacity. Do you think that's where a lot of, not only, I guess, let's just say construction companies or trade companies lack in all of that, is just not having a process in place?
Yeah, systems, man. Systems are really important. But you don't know, we don't know. If
That's
you've
true.
never done it before, or if you don't have anyone who's willing to at least try it, it's never going to happen, right?
I agree
So,
with that.
so you got to meet in the middle. There are people in this industry like you, like myself, who want to do that, right? So it does become it is a responsibility. It is a responsibility for sure. But to scale it, especially if we're talking about it from a business perspective, the owners, our superintendents, industry leaders need to buy into it
That's a
for
big
them to
part.
give you that support.
I agree.
I do it anyway. I don't care. I think we need to pour into people no matter what. But if we're talking about it from a business standpoint, there needs to be systems. There needs to be systems and pathways, absolutely.
I fully agree with that. And kind of building off of that, when you don't have the processes in place, things can become chaotic. In construction, things are already almost always chaotic. It's just a matter of taking a fire extinguisher and putting out those fires. Why do you think so many people are overlooking the trades? Obviously, there's been a big, I wouldn't say a big, but there's definitely been a push of trying to bring new people into the trades. But why do you think it's either A, taken so long to have that push, or just right now, why are so many people overlooking the trades compared to like going the college route?
So I think we're seeing more people enter the trades now than we have in a while. And when I say
Yep.
a while, I'm saying within the last 10 to 15 years.
I would
right?
agree.
Again, 2007, when I was going to high school, no one was getting pushed towards the skilled trades. Very few. Funny enough, a lot of my buddies who decided to go to college are now working for the IBEW, right?
That's fun.
I was kind of like I was the outlier, but I saw the pathway. I saw my father's success. So I think there is just, and I know me and you are equally passionate about this, right? There has been a lack of advocacy for many years,
Yep.
right? We know people like Mike Rowe, they do a great job, but he's one person, right?
Correct.
So there's been a lack of advocacy. Not many people have been kind of on the front lines showcasing the career opportunities, so that kind of still ties to advocacy.
Yeah.
It wasn't pushed in high school. When I was told to go to vocational school, it was actually an option for me because they told me, my grades weren't up to par, and I was also told I wasn't college ready, which was really interesting. I really, looking back, I'm kind of glad I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
But I just think, to answer your question, there was just like a real lack of advocacy. No one was really pushing towards it, and it was like, for me, a best kept secret, man. I was in my early 20s, and I was finding all the success. So my friends were sitting in their dorm rooms eating ramen noodles, man. I was eating steak on the weekends with my old man, as a
Yeah.
journeyman, so talking about all these cool projects I was working on. So, yeah, I just think we didn't have a lot of people pushing the industry and just advocating for it. And then, the final piece, what I mentioned before, is just the marketing behind it. It just
Yep.
didn't exist, and it's still not good. It's still not
No.
good. Which I know I know that's kind of we get on our soapbox about that, but
Yeah.
I think there's multiple layers to it, and it kind of created a little bit of a monster. But on the positive note, I'm seeing a change, which is very good.
I agree with that. Kind of going off what you were just mentioning, I graduated high school in 2012, and even then, there was no sort of like push towards trade school at the time. I didn't even know there was a trade school, and then I get into the trade after graduating college, and I thought I did everything right. I got my bachelor's degree, and now I'm working with 18, 19-year-old fresh out of high school trade school guys making the same amount of me. It was kind of a smack in the face, but I'm kind of glad it happened, and I guess it got me to where I am today, so I'm fortunate in that regard. But something we have kind of poked the bear about, both back and forth through messaging, and now obviously here's the role of social media. What role do you think social media should play in modern, just construction as a whole? It doesn't have to pertain just to electrical, but obviously, I hate to say this, union construction has a lesser market share than non-union construction. However you want to look at it, that's the case a majority of the time. What role do you think social media should play into all that? And why don't you think both contractors or just organizations aren't utilizing it as much as I think they should?
Wow. Okay. So I love both those questions. I'll answer the first one. So I think it plays a tremendous part, right? I said something before. We need to meet people where they are. I think that's figuratively and literally.
Yep.
And if we think about where young people are today, right?
Yep.
Right. I mean, in its simplest form, that's where young people are. I think I'd like to think we grew up in an era where we were still playing tag and manhunt as kids,
Yep.
and stickball's a little dated, but whatever, all those things, right?
Yep.
That seems to have gone out the window, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're playing today. What is it, Fortnite and all these other games? Like kids are just sitting home and they're not connecting with one another. Their social skills aren't there. So
Nope.
we have a respect. And listen, that's not a knock on them. That's just I think there's a lot of moving parts to that, but that's neither here nor there. But the point I'm trying to make is if that is the case, if everything I just said is true, we need to be where they are, and that's typically here, right?
I agree.
Whether that's Instagram, I mean, go on a bus, go on a train, look in public. People aren't reading magazines anymore. What are they doing? They're doing this.
Scroll.
No matter
And
where you
that's
go, they're scrolling, right? So if you can create content that can create visibility and impact, and it's going to be anywhere, right? It's
Yeah.
it's going to be right there on social media. And I do believe that it is starting to gain some traction. People are starting to wake up, but I think it's been a slower process than I'd like to see.
I
Thankfully, there are people like yourself, like me, and the other people that me and you are connected to that are filling that gap.
agree.
So that I hope that answered your first question. The
Yeah.
second question, why aren't they buying in? I think that our industry typically operates, they're behind when it comes to technology and
I agree.
innovation. I think we talked about this recently, right? Blueprints recently just became iPads over the
iPad
last
Pro
5,
Core.
6, 7 years, right?
Yep.
String, a string and spray paint became Trimble, right? So technology is changing. It's great to see how we're adopting it on the job sites. But as far as creating visibility for our industry, I think we're a little slow to adapt, but I also think that ties to senior leadership and maybe some of their lack of understanding and how effective and impactful it can be. But I believe with that, it's our responsibility to show them what it can do. And if we can bring metrics and numbers to the table, the proof is in the pudding, right?
I agree with that. What mistakes, in your opinion, do you think tradespeople make while trying to get themselves out there online? Do you think there's a lot of... Because I know online, it's like anything else, there's always a lot of misconceptions or false information that can be put out. But what is one single factor that you see as being, I guess, an issue when someone first tries to put themselves online to try and get the word out for the trade community?
Yeah, the biggest thing, Noah, is consistency.
Yep.
If you're gonna start creating content, you have to be consistent. I know a lot of people that start, right?
Yep.
You have these good ideas, but it's a job, man. It's a
It is.
commitment. I'm posting on LinkedIn is obviously where I try to focus, man. I try to get on multiple platforms, and hat off to you, man. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of
And
work.
if you want to be effective on multiple platforms, each of them has a different strategy.
Yep.
Everyone, it's no different than a job site, right? You're not going to operate on a commercial project the same way you would on a residential.
Nope.
Residential, hyperscale, they're all so different, right? So for me, I kind of wanted to, it was strategic, and this is kind of, I'm going to answer your question, why I chose LinkedIn, because I wanted to be where the decision makers were and where nobody else was, right?
That's
So,
perfect.
so there was a strategy there, and it was proven to be really effective over the last year. But I think a lot of people, to answer your question, just don't commit to it. And then the other part is they don't have a goal. It's like, okay, you're creating content. Who is this for? There are some
Exactly.
guys in our space who do comedy. I know you do an amazing job at that, right? There are some guys who try to speak to the professional space as well. That's my wheelhouse. I try to bridge the gap between the guys doing the work and the ones that are making the decisions on behalf of us, right?
Yep.
And then there are people who do amazing, like Ryan Lucas does amazing podcasts who makes incredible content that really speaks to the life of a tradesman and lineman and so on and so forth. So I think each of us, if you really think about it, there's a strategy. So to answer your question, a lot of guys don't commit and they don't really go on with the strategy, and then they kind of just get caught up, with some of the other nonsense, and then they just get back into the routine of swiping,
Yeah, and that's the consistency part. I think is the big thing. When I first started back in, it was the exact date was December 9th of 2024. I told myself I was going to post at minimum 3 times a day for a year, and if something happened, cool. If not, well, no harm, no foul, and that's kind of what got me there. But I'm a believer. I mean, especially like dark comedy, but I like to laugh, and I think if you can hook someone, at least get their attention long enough to get them to your platform, you can keep them there. So that's my whole approach to it. But obviously, I'm slowly starting to pivot away from just the comedy, which was always the goal. So I agree, though. Consistency is the biggest thing with like anything in life. But building off of that authenticity is a big aspect, because of whether it's in the fitness industry, construction industry, cooking industry, it doesn't matter. If someone, or if especially a large group or mob finds that you're not authentic, I mean, it's going to go very badly very quickly for you. What does that actually look like in the construction industry today?
Oh man, I love that question. So I said this a long time ago, is that blue collar workers, construction workers can see authenticity in the dark. Right? So if you're if you're going to put yourself on social media,
you got to
and
be
you're going
ready.
to speak about challenges or pain points to the industry, or even what the life looks like, money, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know, right? One, because we want to be rooted in truth, everything that we do.
Yep.
2, these guys are going to call you out. They're going to call you out, and it's probably not going to be friendly. It's not going to be professional.
It's ruthless.
It's ruthless, especially some of these platforms. I mean, TikTok, like you'll get murdered on TikTok, right? And then Instagram, I feel like it's kind of in the middle, and then LinkedIn, everybody's kind of putting their suit on. But again, if you don't, and I'll speak to LinkedIn, if you don't speak in truth, and now you're speaking to industry leaders and decision makers, you're going to get called out, right? So to answer your question, authenticity is really important. Also not being afraid to be confronted, right?
That's true.
I've been challenged before, and I'm okay with correction. I think it's really important, and it also that's a sign of maturity. So there's a lot you can learn by doing it, but it also takes a lot of heart to put yourself out there in front of all these people. It's not for the faint of heart, and I know you know that. But at the end of the day, I also think this is important, Noah, to say that the amount of opportunities that it has created for me has been absolutely incredible. And I'm sure you could speak to this as well. The first the first year I started creating content, which is, I'm gonna say it's about a year and a half ago, uh, I had so many doors open up on the
That's
professional
awesome.
side. Spoke at IEEE, speaking at TechCon in Puerto Rico,
That's
spoke at
awesome.
Data Center World, speaking at Big C in Orlando,
Wow.
at the end of this month. So there's just tremendous opportunity for those who are willing to put themselves out there. You have to be dedicated, you have to be authentic, and yeah, and you got to be committed to the process.
I agree with that. Yeah, building off of that, I think you kind of said it perfectly. LinkedIn's a lot more professional, so you're not going to get some of the heinous things. But I mean, on all the other like TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, I mean, overwhelmingly, I believe the world's good, but when there's bad, it definitely comes in flocks. And I've had my fair share of pretty heinous messages, which I mean, I do. And I mean, as weird as it is, the sound, I do enjoy reading them because I do think it's kind of funny. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty heinous.
Yeah,
Um,
and on that note, not to cut you off, man. I
no,
think
you're good.
that it's good to be challenged,
Yeah.
because you can kind of combat the narrative. I went on a podcast about a year ago with someone, and he has a pretty big following. I won't name drop here, but
Yeah.
someone said, there's no way he was carrying a foreman's ticket at 23 years old. It's impossible. And unfortunately, that's the lens that that individual is living his life through,
Yep.
right? What that's the world that I was living in, right? I found success in the market that I worked in, and unfortunately, he has a narrative in his head that this is impossible. The youngest foreman I ever met, and followed up his comment, was the youngest foreman that I ever met in the IBEW was 28 years old who carried a ticket. It's like, well, I'm also working at one of the largest locals and most influential locals in the country. So what do I know, right? You
Yeah.
know what I
No.
mean? But again, people want to create a story and a narrative in their brain, and until they're able to open their eyes and listen to what other people have to say, they're always going to be stuck where they are. So it's important for guys like you and myself to put that out there, and whatever comes with it, I can take the blows. I got big shoulders, right? So be it.
Yep. I agree with that. Comparison is the thief of joy, and I think especially in construction where it's very egotistical, uh, I've realized they're not an overwhelmingly large majority, but there definitely are a lot of people that hate to see, especially younger people, do better than them. A lot younger, not as far into their career. So yeah, I could. Yeah, it is what it is. But
Yeah,
that's
right.
the construction industry. Um, if you could change one thing about the electrical industry to the public perception, what would it be? Or if you want to take it a little further, I guess the construction industry. It doesn't have to be electrical. If you want to do electrical, that's perfectly fine. But
Yeah, so career pathways, upward mobility, right? I think there's this idea that when you get into the trades, that you're gonna go through your apprenticeship or not. I know there's a lot of guys who don't, right?
yep,
You're gonna go through your program, your CE, CW, whatever it is, and you're gonna be stuck on your tools your entire career.
yep,
So a lot of guys think like that's the connotation to it being a dirty job. It's like, well, if you choose to,
yeah,
if you choose
that's
to, right? There is nothing wrong with that. Some of my mentors are still on their tools, and they will be till they retire, right?
yeah, they love
That was the
it.
pathway that they chose, right? So whenever I speak to young men and to young women who are interested in the trades, that comes up a lot. Like, I don't know if I want to work with my hands for the rest of my life. I like it, and I like the idea of learning and doing it for the first 10, 15 years, but I don't want to do that for 40. And I
Yeah,
could respect that. I could respect that. So, um, there are multiple opportunities outside of working with your hands in the electrical industry, in the IBEW. Right? Obviously, we have the journeyman pathway, foreman, superintendent, but you can become a project engineer, you can become an estimator, you
yep,
can become a project manager, you can get in the C-suite, right? You can become a project executive. I mean, the list goes on, right?
yep.
So it really is up to the individual, and I think that is a little bit of a narrative and a perception that I'm trying to shift. When I do
Yeah,
speak to high schoolers, people in college, or people who are transitioning into our industry, just there is upward mobility, but that is on you.
and I think that's a very large misconception, especially from the non-union side, is they think once you top out, like you're pigeonholed to being a journeyman, you're pigeonholed to making the same exact rate as your counterparts. I mean, pay rates, I mean, you can obviously, I mean, people don't like to talk about it, but you can negotiate a little higher rate in certain instances. But there is also the possibility, like you said, you can become a foreman, you can go off and become a general foreman, superintendent. And that's, I don't know how it's that hard to understand, especially on the non-union side, but it's like, yeah, yeah, it's confusing to me. But I think a lot of that comes from misinformation that's being put out there, and unfortunately, when it runs rampant, you just kind of have to try and resolve the issue on the back end.
Yeah, well, people need to take ownership over their growth.
Yep, I agree with that.
Absolutely. If you're on a job site and you're a journeyman and you're seeing project managers, you're seeing executives, you're seeing superintendents walk around, why don't you think you have access to that?
Exactly.
You do, right? Is there a certain pathway you need to take? Is there certain training you need to go through? Are there certain people that you need to build relationships with? Maybe, I don't know. But if you see people living that life, it's obviously attainable to you, right? I know that sounds like a silly thing to say, but we get caught up in this. This is all I'm ever going to be able to do. This is the only opportunity, that I'm going to have. I'm 35 years old, and I got out of the field at 30. I got out of the field at 33. So there are endless opportunities.
And building off of that, a lot of people, especially the younger guy, well, maybe you could speak on this better than I could. Like, you come out of high school, you go through trade school, you're in your career, but there's always that thought in the back of your mind, well, maybe I should have went to school and got some sort of degree. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of these apprenticeship schools or trade schools have a working agreement of some nature with a community college or with a four-year college to where you can go and get an associate's degree. Is that ever something you try to utilize, or something that I guess Local 3 in specific has in place?
Yeah, so when you finish Local 3's apprenticeship program, you graduate with a degree in labor studies.
Oh, that's
from,
awesome.
Empire State College, right?
Nice.
So
Yeah.
there are a ton of opportunities, and then from there, you can decide to go, and expand on that degree if you choose to do so. This industry has so many different opportunities, and every local, right, has different opportunities. So, like when I tell people, oh, this local has this local has that, if it's in your jurisdiction, it's your responsibility to figure that out and take advantage of those. That's part of your CBA, right? If it's accessible to you, go after it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when I was on some of those high rises or deck jobs where I was looking out over the city, I was freezing, and I'm like, maybe I should leverage that degree a little bit. But but I knew if I really wanted to have a voice in this industry, I was going to need some real experience under my belt, and I don't feel like there's any better. I know we don't like the word merit, but if you're going to build merit in this industry, it should happen on site, boots on ground.
I agree with that, and that's I like LinkedIn. And I mean, obviously you have the real world experience, but there's a lot of people on the corporate side that don't have our experience in the field that are speaking on it. And to me, it drives me crazy, to be honest. So I definitely appreciate, and I know many others appreciate what you're doing. So I want to thank you for that. I've taken up a lot of your time. I'll end this with one last question. Say I was an 18-year-old guy just walking up to you on the street, and I said, Josh, I want to go into, it doesn't matter the trade, I want to go into the electrical trade. Should I go union or non-union? What would be your selling point to joining the union?
Yeah, so I'm always going to advocate for union labor. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, as a second generation IBEW Local 3 electrician, that's my space, that's where I came up, and this is what I would typically do, right? I believe that people should make decisions for themselves. I'm not a car salesman. I never will be. But what I will do is this. I will put the opportunity and all the benefits on the table for what the IBEW offers.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have you, this is your responsibility, go out and find out what a non-union shop is gonna put together. Look at their benefits. Then I want you to put them together. I don't care what you do, copy and paste, drop them both in ChatGPT, and make a decision for yourself, right?
I agree.
I'm going to say this biasly, 9 times out of 10, you're going to go the route of the union. Now, I do think this is very important. When people say it's hard to get in, I don't believe it's hard to get in, right? What I am going to tell you is that it's more competitive.
It is
right?
competitive.
If you want to work with the best,
You have to
you
be the
should at
best.
least attempt to become the best,
I fully
right?
agree with that.
So that's where I stand on that. But again, to answer your question, Noah, I'm putting both opportunities on the table. I'll let you make the decision, but 9 times out of 10, if it's in your market and the opportunity is there for you, you're going to go work with the IBEW.
I fully agree with that, and I'm fully with you. I don't like to. I mean, obviously, I have the bias. I've worked non-union. I've worked union. I've saw both sides. It's not like I've just worked in the union and I'm just spouting things off. Um, but yeah, I agree with that. If you look at things, if you're visually looking at everything, I would agree 9 times out of 10. I would even go as far as 10 out of 10 with the benefits, the pay, and so forth. I mean, you'd kind of be crazy not to take the better package, but I mean that's open to everyone's own thought process, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely too. No, and then also, there's this narrative that you can't become a licensed master electrician or a contractor in the IBEW.
Yep,
That is a lie. That's not true.
that's actually
I have several friends who topped out, decided to go get a license, and started their own company. They bought a van, they started running, became signatory, and they found a ton of success. And this is throughout the entire country. So that is I hope many people hear this. Soundbite this, please, man. Clip it, right?
yeah.
You have the ability to create any story you want for yourself.
Yep.
Again, you want to be a journeyman, great. You want to become a CEO and run your own business with the IBEW, you have the ability to. But it is your responsibility to know what it takes to have that and what it takes to get there. A lot of people just hear what other people have to say. They don't do their research. They don't compare and contrast. They don't put the two
Nope.
options on the table. And they say, well, the IBEW didn't want me, or I didn't have this opportunity, or it was too hard. It's all nonsense. You're the dictator and the author of your own future. End the story, bottom line.
I agree with that, and I think that is something as we've gotten or progressed. I feel like the younger generation is, I wouldn't say less motivated, but there is, I'll say they're just a little less motivated up front. I think once they get going, they pan out for themselves. But yeah, I agree with that. You do have to put in effort. Without the effort, you're not going to go anywhere in life, in my opinion. So
the younger generation just needs to find purpose.
I agree with that.
People like you, like myself, industry leaders to help them find it. It's just they're just dealing with different challenges than we dealt with when we came up, and we need to be there to support them every step of the way.
I agree with that. That's all I got. Outside, where can people find you online? Obviously, I know you're on LinkedIn, but what all platforms are you on? Where can they find you, connect, and everything in between?
Yeah, LinkedIn. If you want to connect with most of the content that I put out there, it does cater towards a lot of the professional side of the industry, but also speaking towards those who are, walking the beat each and every single day. And then obviously Instagram, that's more personal.
Yeah.
I try to connect with people on more of a personal level, and you get to see a little bit more of my private life. What I like to do for fun outside of workforce development and things like that. Which, believe it or not, I really don't have a life besides my 2-year-old home and my family. But yeah, man, all good. LinkedIn and Instagram, I'm on there.
Awesome. Well, Josh, I thank you for your time. I'll end up editing this last portion out, but yeah, thank you for your time. It's awesome to finally put a name and a face together, semi in person. But yeah, I appreciate it.
No, dude, listen, man, I love what you're doing. No, I hope I met your expectations, man.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I hope the content matched the personality.
No, it definitely did.